Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. It's the morning after the night before, and as always, I'm joined with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, how you doing, mate?
A little rough this morning, mate. A little rough. Was at the pub watching the game last night. Had a few drinks after that goal goes in. Yeah. To be fair, my bed is literally here. I've made it this far this
Not even
morning,
into
and
the new
that's about
studio.
that's about my limit. To be honest with you, I've done the most. But no, always a sight for sore eyes. You are, my friend. Good to see you.
Likewise, mate. And obviously, I mean, last night was amazing, and it's a miracle we've both actually managed to drag ourselves up after that, mate. And
Yeah, for
even
sure.
a miracle that Villa managed to drag themselves
Mm.
to a win, because at this point 7 months ago we'd lost 4-0 to Leicester. And we'd met the day after in Manchester, and basically just did an hour podcast of us, uh, frustrated at the fact that we're going down. And I think we even spoke about the possibility of Sam Allardyce coming in, Dan. I actually watched that podcast back the other day, and look at how far we've come, Dan. 4 Premier League wins in a row. We're now unbeaten in our last 8 in the Premier League. The last time Villa won their first 4 Premier League games was, or first 4 First Division games was in 1930, I believe. I saw the Villa admin tweet on Twitter, which is a phenomenal feat. And
Yeah,
here we are. Um, we've had a lot of new listeners to the podcast. Some of you may know that, you know, there may have been doubts over Dino at times. We may have questioned substitutions, philosophies. But I think one thing that should never be twisted is our sort of undying will and desire for Dean to succeed at Villa, and
Mhm.
to see how far we've come in such a short period of time. It is truly remarkable, and Dean Smith deserves all the credit. And I mean, Dan, if we talk about the performance, obviously, I'd say on the balance of play, Villa just about edged it. We started the game off pretty slow, I thought, which is always going to be the case. It's the away side, but Villa grew into it, and it was never really in doubt. To be fair, was it?
No, mate, it wasn't. First of all, yeah, just to echo what you said on Dean, I mean, I doubted him a lot. I think a lot of Villa fans did doubted him a lot last season, and I tweeted the other day how you know, I'm not one to sort of try and brush it under the carpet or pretend I didn't
Yeah,
say these things. I completely stand by what I said. I think if the performances ever dropped to the standard that they did last season, I'd say the same things that I did. I think I'm all for everyone wanted Dean Smith to succeed, but we weren't really succeeding last season. But wow, what a if there was ever an advert for how quickly things can change in football, it was last night. That
yeah,
was quite a timely game, wasn't it? Really, because obviously that was not just our last game with fans in. You had the blessing of being there to witness our dismantling at the King Power last season,
yeah.
mate. But it was the last Premier League game, full stop,
It was,
to be
yeah,
played with fans, wasn't it? Um, and so, to show, just to demonstrate just how far we've come. And look, I know Leicester did have a fair few injuries last night. No Ricardo Pereira, no Jamie Vardy, which was the big one. But also they were missing Wilfred Ndidi, Daniel Martin. I was saying this in the preview; those are big losses, but still a very, very strong Leicester side. And Kelechi Iheanacho doesn't score many against many teams, but you bet your bottom dollar he scores against Villa. He
yeah.
loves playing us,
Always,
doesn't he? And
always.
it was just this really sort of we started a little bit slow, but it wasn't like we weren't concerning. We never really looked like conceding. Leicester, neither side were giving each other an inch, and as you said, it wasn't sort of as we grew into the game, the quality necessarily showed. It was a real physical battle, and I've heard of a lot of people say that it wasn't exactly one for the neutrals, and taking my Villa hat off, it probably wasn't, but we
Yeah,
had to really grind, and that's what gave me the most encouragement, perhaps, mate, is that we had that ability to fight and to grind and to sort of really dominate a physical encounter that we just didn't have last season. And I don't
Yeah,
think that's
absolutely.
necessarily the new personnel, because look at the way, I'm going to pick out Trezeguet.
What a
10,
performance.
10 defensive contributions from him last season, which is like your tackles, interceptions, all that sort of stuff. 10. The midfield as a unit gave us 5,
Wow.
which is nuts.
Yeah.
And and that's what I mean. It's that step up from the same personnel. Think Douglas, who didn't have that, post lockdown, yeah, but before didn't have that physical. And look at Trez. You have these players that have really stepped it up, and now we have this ability to not just sort of. Yesterday wasn't Villa's best in terms of quality. It wasn't slick. It wasn't attractive, but we fought, and that's what I liked, mate.
Yeah, I think that ultimately is what gives you the edge in these kind of games. Just on a base level, looking at the stats, possession split 51-49. So there's nothing in that. Both sides 11 and 10 shots respectively. 5 on target for Leicester, 4 on target for Villa. The big difference for me in terms of chances created come in the corner statistics, where Leicester only had 2, whereas Villa had 7. Shows you that the efforts that were made on goal, were forcing saves. And Villa were creating chances. And as some of you may have seen the live feed that I was running, I was saying throughout the game, Villa need to be taking these opportunities from the set pieces, because we were just getting so many. Because in fairness, the first half, we didn't really look like getting into many goal scoring positions. There were a few nice little balls played over the top by John McGinn, which was great to see. But Leicester's back four sat quite deep. And I think, they're clearly aware of the threat of someone as mobile as Ollie Watkins. But it was, a sort of full-blooded performance, as you alluded to there, Dan. But let's not distract ourselves from the fact that, we still played some very attractive football. We still managed to pass the ball around. It wasn't this kind of hit and hoof. Douglas Luiz really grew into this game for me. The second half was his game. He ran that. And it's just something about watching Douglas Luiz receive the ball on the half turn, open his body, spray a pass, 20, 30 yards. That just makes me so happy. I mean, and I know you feel the same, and Villa fans will also. But he's such like a champagne footballer. It's beautiful to see. And in terms of on the Leicester injuries, you can only really, it's a cliche, but you can only really beat what's in front of you. Again, to bring it back to the 4-0, Villa, there was no way we could beat that side. But I think we are in this weird Premier League paradox where Leicester can get done 3-0 by West Ham, and then go and beat Man City 5-2. It's. But then again, maybe some more respect needs to be put on West Ham after that comeback against Tottenham yesterday, which was quite remarkable. I don't think anyone saw that coming. But I mean, Villa, I think the big difference, Dan, is this edition of Ross Barkley, as we've kind of again alluded to before on other podcasts, takes a lot of the weight off Grealish. Now, I don't know about you. I think Ross took his time to grow into the game, and the commentators, we're all saying that. Villa looked just a bit lethargic maybe in the first half, which I can get. I think we did take our time to grow into it. But man, having someone who can have the ball from 30 yards out, take a touch and just shoot and it go in. I mean, Villa don't create chances like that. They don't. We play this kind of nice, get the ball out wide, put the ball into the box. It's this very sort of, Spanish Pep ideal way of playing football, which is brilliant. And I'm not going to sit here and complain about the style of football that Aston Villa play, but to have a maverick like Ross Barkley, who's, when, the chips are down, it's 0-0, is just going to go, do you know what? Let's give this a go and have a shot from 30 yards out, hard and low, beat Schmeichel. It's brilliant, because that's the kind of opportunity where I don't think Jack takes it. We like to see Jack occupy these shooting positions, sort of in between the fullback and the centre half, kind of open his body up and curl it into the top corner. Ross Barkley just wants to ball in any position and will shoot. And, he's proved in both of his games he's capable of scoring, albeit with a deflection against Liverpool. But, it's just someone to take a bit of that load off Jack, score the goal. I genuinely, I don't think I've been this excited about a loan signing for a long time, Dan.
Yeah, and what I don't think, we did a podcast, didn't we, mate? When it was Loftus Cheek or Ross
Yeah,
that was going to be coming in. I preferred Ross out the two, and I think a lot needs to be said about finding that peace in the midfield, that just completing little that fact. I mean, look how long. I mean, it looks like Arsenal have finally got that in Partey.
yeah,
And look how long it's taken them. The amount of different midfield rotations and the amount of different players that we've seen come into that midfield, and they seem to have finally. I mean, we don't know. It might not even be him, but looking from the outside in and knowing what Thomas is like, that they finally got that. Man United with Bruno, and to find a recruitment level that perfectly picks out that player that completes your midfield and just makes it seem like so much more of a cohesive unit is not easy. It
no,
takes a lot of sides, a lot of attempts, especially in an area like with the midfield. And I think slowly and sort of under the radar, a bit sneakily, we might have assembled one of the better midfields in the Premier League. And look, I'm not talking like top six, but like, outside of that, maybe we have. And look, I think a lot needs to be said of like Everton's and et cetera, et cetera. But look, when Ross has added dynamicism and a bit of flair and confidence to our midfield that I don't think we really have, and that ability to just pick the ball up on the turn and drive at the defenders, and then them not, because he's equally as capable of slipping off a pass in between the fullback and the centre back, or opening his body up and unleashing a shot like he did yesterday, which Villa don't have, because John doesn't do that. John did do that in the Championship, but as the Premier League, we've sort of seen him drop back into a deeper lying midfielder who's
yeah.
facilitating such attacks. We don't see John McGinn have the cracks from 25, 30 yards that he did when he was in the Championship, when he had a bit more of a free role and he could express himself a little more. And look, I actually think John is far more suited to the role that he's playing, sort of this 6-8 that he slots into, which allows the freedom of Grealish when he's in the midfield, or Ross now when he's playing that position. And what a goal it was, mate. And I think Lanzini in that West Ham game is going to take the spoils for goal of the weekend, and rightly so, because that was
Yeah,
nuts. But the strike from Ross and how it's sort of in his feet. When you
yeah.
look at it, it's not out in front of him, and he can get this. He sort of has to dig it out from underneath him, and he gets this arc, and that he actually has a really trademark technique. And like
It's
when
almost
he shoots,
knuckleball.
yeah, it always has this very trademark, and the way he shoots is very distinctively Ross Barkley, and that was trademark last night. It really was, mate. And uh, I could sit here and wax lyrical about that goal and the timing of it, and just what it means to come from that player in particular. Just brilliant, mate. And look, there's 115 clubs in England's top 5 divisions. We have the only 100% win record of all of Europe's top
Wow.
5 leagues. There's only 2 teams that have won all their games so far this season, and it's us and AC Milan, which is esteemed company, my friend. And it's nuts. Second in the league, mate. But yeah, let's I think about time we looked into some individual performances, because I've got a couple players a few players actually I'd really like to pick out. Who stood out for you, mate?
I think the one that may have gone under the radar a bit, Matty Cash. Easy to lose sight of a performance like his when someone like Ross is, rightfully stealing the headlights. 100% aerial duel success, 100% tackle success. This man does not look out of place in the Premier League. And as someone who watches the Championship a lot, and listen, before we went down, it was only ever, semi-final or final I'd ever watch, because didn't have any skin in the game. Being in there for 3 years, I've got much more of an appreciation for the Championship. So, I do try and keep an eye out. And Matty Cash is a player who, throughout our whole time in the Championship, maybe a bit of a thorn in our side, to be honest, Dan. And I know people, from uni who are Forest fans and had them in my ear telling me he's better than Jack Grealish all this time. Whilst does never rang true. Here we are. We've got one of the most exciting defensive prospects that Aston Villa have had for years. And he just seems his positional sense. He knows where to be. He knows how to tackle. When he should do a professional tackle. He pulled back Harvey Barnes, which the commentators were like, "Oh, it's stupid," but I'm thinking, hang on a minute, Barnes is through there. That's the one time where Matty has found himself in a situation where he's been forced to bring a player down. Which again is just a credit to how well he performed throughout the game. He's so athletic, and we've got a really good looking back line down, haven't we? All English in terms of the defenders, and it's no coincidence that we've only conceded 2 goals 4 games. Statistically, England's best defence, and Ty can only get 30 minutes against Denmark. Justice for Ezri, man. I can fully understand Matty not being there purely on the basis that England have an abundance of right backs. But man, again, in terms of individual performances, Ezri Konsa, I think there was only one sort of lapse of concentration from Ezri with a very, very poor pass out, which Cash was able to deal with. Again, talking about Matty Cash, but listen, Villa's defence has come on leaps and bounds, and at the start of last season, Dan, we were kind of echoing the same sentiment. We were happy with the defence. We were happy with Mingles, and things for whatever reason changed. The defence became the problem. Scoring goals didn't become the problem. Now we have quite actually found the perfect balance between the two. Between keeping clean as many clean sheets as possible. Even the 2 goals against Liverpool, Salah's 2 goals were fantastic. You can't really take that away from him. Plus, we put 7 past them, so who cares? We're freely scoring goals, and we never look like we're stifled in that sense. Listen, I could wax lyrical about every single player on the pitch last night, Dan. Who for you? Perform well. I know you alluded to having a few mentions. I'm sure Cash was one of them.
Well, look, Ezri and the back line really impressed me. Matty Targett has stepped up to a level I didn't think he had.
I've got to give him credit for that. Yeah, I've been a big advocate. Well, not advocate. Matt Targett defensively last season wasn't it, and
no, he wasn't.
I think was it the Sheffield United game where he gave away the penalty. I thought, but no, Matt Targett's come on leaps and bounds. Again, I guess that just comes down to excellent coaching as well.
Well, mate, for sure. And look, he stepped up to a level defensively that I didn't think he had. And the back line, and look, Dean clearly listens to this podcast, mate, because when Ezri, was playing at right back, me and you used to come on this podcast and be like, Ezri Konsa is not a right back. You need to play this man in the middle. Dean tuned into the Villa pillar, moved him to centre back, and since then we've been unbeaten. Yeah. We've played 8 games, won 6, drawn 2. We've only conceded 4 goals, so that's at a rate of 0.5 a game. Emmy, oh my God, what a difference he makes. Wow. 15% of all clean sheets in the Premier League this season have been kept by one only, Emiliano Martinez, which is a brilliant stat. He was just, not a standout game for him last night. Made a couple of nice saves, but everything is so clean. There's no fumbles, there's nothing dropped. It's also reassured. You can see how much confidence he instills in the back line. Everything that he does just has this air of class about it. And again, one of perhaps the better players in the Premier League in his position. I mean, the stats will certainly back me up with that. Fantasy managers are absolutely loving Emmy at the moment. I'm proud to say that I'm one of them. He's doing absolute bits at the moment. But look, I don't know how many times I've come on this podcast and wanted to do this, mate, but let me just get 5 minutes talking about Jack Grealish, because he, wow, He was doing things last night, man,
He
which
was, man.
tickled my pickle, son. Let me tell you, it was nice. Look, I think yesterday was a really good example of perhaps how accustomed we've come to dropping those kind of performances. Because I saw a couple of people say that had a good first half, second half wasn't his best. It probably wasn't, but let me lay down. Lay down. So yesterday in the game, most key passes, Jack Grealish. Most big chances created, Jack Grealish. Most dribbles attempted, Jack Grealish. Most dribbles completed, Jack Grealish. Most foul player, obviously, Jack
Jack
Grealish.
Grealish.
Highest percentage of aerials won, Jack Grealish.
That's crazy.
This season in the Premier League, Jack Grealish is in the top 10 for goals, assists, key passes, big chances created, dribbles attempted, dribbles completed, shots in the box, shots on target, blocked shots, fouls received, and tackles won.
Get
Are
him
you?
in your team, Gareth.
Yeah, mate, are you crazy? That is unbelievable. Our captain, El Capitano, is on a tear at the moment. That back heel from Matt Target, man. It's
Filthy.
Monday as we record. We're gonna have to schedule another podcast this week just to talk about that alone. That was bananas. It was oh my god, so good. But like he was just amazing yesterday. Him and Castagna had this real battle going on, didn't they?
Yeah.
On that wing, and they were just taking chunks out of each other at every opportunity. Jack won that battle. I thought, Leicester were not going to give him an inch last season, and look, you can't blame them. And one thing I actually want to give credit to Jack for is how they've clearly conditioned his body to take such blows,
Yeah.
because there's not many other players in the Premier League, and the thing is Jack's not getting like little shirt tugs and like little clips of the heel. Like players come in to Jack and look, mate. Like I can't pretend that Villa haven't taken this approach with players, and that this approach isn't common in football the world over. I mean, you only have to watch Barcelona every week to see that players go into the players that they can't stop, and they
Yeah.
don't just try to stop them. They try to stop them for the 90 minutes. It's like take them out of the game, like let them know you're there. That classic Sunday League cliche, and Jack takes these blows and takes these hits and tackles that are really quite nasty at points, and just gets up, plays the game. The fact that he's only really had that one injury in the Championship at Villa is really quite remarkable, considering he took like
Oh
157
yeah.
fouls last season, and didn't take a spot on the sideline as a result of any one of them. And the job that's been done at Villa to condition his body and manufacture like his physique to take such impact and allow him to dominate games like that is just so good, mate. And another vintage Jack Grealish performance last night, in the first half especially.
Yeah, I mean, they must have Jack at Bodymore. They must like fucking tie him up on one of them pull-up bars and do that boxing conditioning where you're just
Yeah,
going
just
for his abs. Like everyone's going fucking 2 minutes into
yeah,
Grealish. I mean, listen, Castagna. We've spoke about him on the podcast. What a player! What a season he has had, and so incredibly versatile. And when I was seeing the lineup, wasn't quite sure if he was going to play on the left side or the right side. But I guess with how explosive his runs are, it made sense. They want to try and use him to maybe try and pin Grealish back, especially target. But I mean, it was a real war of attrition throughout the whole game between them two. I think they both reveled in just kicking the shit out of each other, which I got a lot of time for, to be honest. If you're going to take it, if you're
yeah.
going to give it, you got to be able to take it. And listen, yeah, as you kind of say, I think we're in this situation now where we've been shouting so loud about how good Jack Grealish is that it's just become normal, as you say. Like I'm watching the game, with Alex, who's a City fan, and even he's like, yeah, and part of his family are blue noses as well, so like to rib me for that. So he has got this sort of inbuilt hatred towards Villa, but so many people now, and even Gabby was saying this. I get so many texts after games off Liverpool fans, Everton fans, City fans, whoever, and they're like, Jesus Christ, Dan, the past 3 years you've been going on about Jack Grealish, you were right all along. And I'm thinking, well, of course I am.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like we're in this sort of I don't know. I guess it's hard for some people to give recognition to greatness, but man, Jack Grealish. I don't think we can talk about it enough how good he is genuinely. I'm definitely clipping up that little bit you've just done, listening to him. So that's going on Twitter. That's going to do the numbers.
Yeah, for
Wow.
sure. Please do, please do. But
I
no, it's
mean,
crazy, man.
it
It's
really
crazy.
is.
Like,
Like
what more can you say? What more can you say? Like, he
we're speechless.
glides. It's oh my god. I could talk about it all day, man. I get so
Yeah.
excited.
I mean, that's the thing
Absolutely
that
not, man.
that that little flick to target was sensational. I still thought nothing of it when I saw it because
Mm.
it's
It's
standard
like
Jack. It's only when I saw it clipped up on Twitter, I was like, oh my god, this is doing the rounds. Grealish has done a madness. Um, listen, we've exhausted talk of this game, Dan. Villa, 4 wins in a row. Before we wrap up the podcast, I think, and I know we keep saying it, this is going to be a yardstick for how far Villa have come. Leeds United at home is quite possibly our most difficult game of the season, Dan. Friday night, under the lights. Dean Smith versus Marcelo Bielsa. A tactical masterclass is certainly in order for both managers. And listen, Leeds have taken to the Premier League well. But one thing that it does my head in, man, is the amount of credit, and rightfully so to a certain extent, that Marcelo Bielsa has been getting. What he has done at Leeds cannot be understated, and I'm not trying to undermine that whatsoever. But when we're talking about the job that Bielsa has done, I think again we need some more perspective on what Dino's done at Villa. It took Dean Smith half a season to achieve what Marcelo Bielsa set out to achieve. And one is the best manager in the world, and the other was managing Brentford and Walsall. And obviously we're sat in second. Leeds, I believe, are 6th or 7th in the league, which again, remarkable, especially when you look at that squad on paper. Uh, you would not think that players like Jack Harrison,
mm.
Patrick Bamford, Stuart Dallas, Luke Ayling would be able to miraculously make this step up. And I guess if you look at Sheffield United, I guess they're doing a Sheffield United in that sense from last season. Obviously not this season. Poor from them. But it's going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out. I think Dino needs more respect from the national press on the job he's done and is doing. And last time these two sides met at Villa Park, Villa threw it away. Villa
Hmm.
were comfortably in the lead, and we ended up drawing it 2-2, I believe. And that was a massive sucker punch, man. I don't think I've walked out of a game feeling so disappointed. It's one of them things. I wouldn't say we're rivals with Leeds, but there's certainly, from everything that happened at Ellen Road, there's this added spice to the game. So and their fans, they make so much noise. They can make an atmosphere so hostile, even just the 3,000 of them in the away end at Villa Park. And I was gutted, seeing how poorly we threw that away. I believe El Mohammadi headed the ball back into the box from the back post, which gave them the goal that tied up
Yeah.
the game. Shout out to Elmo for that. But listen, Dan, this has got all of the makings to be a classic game between the two sides. All being well, I'm hopefully going to be at Villa Park covering the game for a site. It's not been
Oh
confirmed yet.
wow.
I'm still waiting for the press accreditation to come through, so it
Oh
might not.
wow.
But hopefully, I'll be able to see this one
Wow. Yo, that
live.
is crazy. What good for you, mate? That's nuts.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's just waiting on that to be approved. So uh, I'm sure I'll keep you guys updated on Twitter if you're
Yeah.
on Twitter, and keep an eye out for any coverage. But yeah, I mean, Dan, it's going to be, as I say, a classic. What are you expecting coming into this? Because Leeds play tonight as we're recording.
Yeah.
So quick turnaround for them.
Mm. Yeah, well, look, mate, first of all, I'm expecting just a great game of football. I can't wait to watch it. Look, I'm I think it's really hard to not like. I try not to sort of like with football, especially. I really like to formulate my own opinions. I don't like to get sucked into all the media hype and all this sort of stuff. I try to isolate all of that, go on what I see, and all that stuff. And look, I think there is a certain degree of like Bielsa's credit has come for the fact that it is Leeds. I think if Marcelo Bielsa bought up Watford or
Yeah,
like Brighton or something like that, there wouldn't be that same level. But then I'm like, no, I think it is that because he ended that hoodoo and brought up the club, which seemingly couldn't be brought up, and manager after manager had a crack at this whip. Some took them down to League One, and they couldn't get that. And Bielsa did it and did it without a shadow of a doubt. And I think a big amount of respect is due for that. I think, as you say, mate, I've spoken a lot on this where I like, I watched Leeds in that first game of the season go into that Liverpool game, and I looked at their starting eleven like, really? Like,
yeah,
you're going to come into the Premier League and put out that 11 and I'm supposed to believe this side is going to be this all conquering, and then you watch the game and you're like, oh, fair enough. Like this team is truly more than a sum of its parts, and that is solely down to one man. But look, you're right in that. Like Dean have really come into his own this season. I think two of the more exciting teams in the Premier League are going to go head to head. It's going to be great to be back at Villa Park, mate. If you're there, then
hopefully, touch wood.
yeah, that would be amazing. Touch wood indeed. That would be incredible. And yeah, I just hope we all get a really good game of football, which I'm sure will be the case. And look, like when you consider what we did to Liverpool, what we've just done to Leicester, um, there's a chance for another positive result. And look, we're like if we did lose the game or even draw it, I wouldn't have any complaints because
No,
we're due
absolutely.
that given the run that we've been on. But look, there's this confidence is going to be sky high, but with confidence comes complacency.
Yeah,
And now, we have to keep, going into every game with that mentality, like, they're not all going to be as easy as the last. At some point, this Villa side is really going to be tested. And, if we went a goal down, if we went 2 goals down, how do we respond to that? Because we've been so used to being in these positions whereby if you keep a clean sheet, the worst thing you can do is draw. And so, if Villa are put into testing situations, it'd be really interesting to think how we come out of those. But no, mate, I'm just buzzing. Like, I want Villa games every day. And it's been
absolutely.
so long since I've been able to say that. But yeah, can we play it every day of the week, man? Like, I'm excited. I'm so excited for next Friday. Real curtain raiser for another weekend of what has been an amazing Premier League season. No fans in the ground. We'll just have it that way forever because it's box office at the moment. Every game is just
Like literally box
absolutely
office done.
mental. It's amazing. And look, like as I said, like we can't go to games at the moment, but boy, are those players making up for that. It's a real fun time to be a Premier League fan, to be a Villa fan. Football is great at the moment. Life is good, mate. And Villa are second in the fucking Premier League. So yeah,
Drink
let's
it
end
in.
the podcast on that note, mate, because I can't say that enough.
Honestly, it's so exciting, and as you say, there's this sort of feeling that I don't even think was there during the 10-game win streak because I think we were so apprehensive because we knew that's what it would take, and it was never really. I mean, like now, I think we can come to expect really good performances from Villa,
Mhm.
unless something significant happens. Like a fucking like a I don't know, like a building falls on Jack Grealish, then we're screwed. It's almost a certainty how well we're playing. But with that sort of 10-game win run, we had to win all of them games. We had, I think, 2, maybe 3 games after that in the season. But one of them was against Norwich, who obviously won the league that season. We had to win all them games. So there was this kind of and there was still this buzz about it because it was like we're going on a 10-game win run, hopefully.
Yeah.
But it's such a good time. And just one final thing on Leeds. They looked the business against Liverpool whilst losing. They got far more credit for losing to Liverpool than we did, beating them, first of all. Second of all, it's all right scoring 3 against Liverpool, But if you're going to concede 3 against Fulham, then there's
Yeah.
some serious problems now. Whilst Leeds play well, they're defensively just not at it. And, you know, if you're going to get on this trend of conceding a lot of goals, you're going to have to score a hell of a lot more. But listen, played very well against Manchester City the other week, played well against Liverpool. Even in that Fulham game, I didn't think they were bad, but you know, you can't concede 3 to Fulham.
Well,
Nobody concedes 3 to Fulham.
no team has conceded more shots from inside the area than Leeds this season, mate. And I think if you give that to our midfield and our attackers, we're going to be eating good on Friday night.
Absolutely, man. And that's a good note to end the podcast on, as we both have meetings in 10 minutes time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, here we are, Dan, another podcast in the can for you guys. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on last night. Who was your man of the match? I've got a feeling it's going to be either Matty Cash or Douglas Luiz, but let us know in the comments below, and subscribe for more. We are about 55 subscribers away from 3,100, which is amazing. Again, just to reiterate a point, about 70% of you guys who watch these podcasts aren't subscribed. So if you've made it this far, that's amazing. Please like the video, comment, but also subscribe, because, you know, it really helps us out at the channel. And if you're watching it, you may as well be subscribed anyway, if you like what you see. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and up the Villa.
Chester's essential. The ball filling this got potential. It's a main man, a hero. He's the main leader of the gang. Chester. 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 He's the main leader of the gang now. Chester.